Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I'm Mario here once again, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Super Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Switch, specifically in Luigi's Blue World mode. So, last time we have managed to able to done Luigi's Blue World for the 5th time, except this time around though it takes place in the forms of the Wooded Kingdom. So today for this episode is the fact that we're going to be able to do Luigi's Blue World again, but except this time around we're now going to be doing with the forms of the Lake Kingdom. So even then, and not much else to really say about this here though, apart from the fact that we've already got about, I would say about, 3 weeks to go, / 21 days to go until Christmas time. So, at least expecting as such, then we are still hyperly excited about this. So even then, and obviously this now takes place in the forms of the inside portion of that specific, the powers part. So even then, let's get this thing to it, but I'll go ahead and find this particular balloon first. So, even though it does take a while to get used to with that specific stuff though, because I'm pretty much used to with, the previous kingdoms, including the future ones as well, because in those kingdoms, I can just simply manage to able to just, keep on using long jumps most of the time, or sometimes occasionally the actual, cappy long jump and stuff like that. And also, as you can tell right there, that the actual color palette of that specific, the Lake Kingdom, or the Lake Kingdom, as far as I like to say, is now in a different color as opposed to the actual sunset. So even then, make a little bit of a different variety on those specific stuff though, but still. Well, apart from those few exceptions, there were Cap Kingdom as well as, of course, the Wooded Kingdom recently. So, and then, you probably get the idea about that specific solution throughout. So yeah, today's day is the forms of the 4th of December today, and I'm actually going to be pretty excited to tell you guys is that I can now finally discuss upon some new updates and all that stuff. Well, only one thing in particular though, and that is, yes, the new update for Super Mario Maker 2 for the Nintendo Switch will be releasing tomorrow, specifically the 5th of December. So I'm really looking forward to that specific update, so I'll tell you guys what the actual update is all about. So basically what happens is the fact that it did recently announce that during the forms of Monday morning, that I forgot to tell you guys about that ever since in specifically the Wooded Kingdom video where it comes to Luigi's Bloom World. And basically, there was one particular element I forgot to mention to you guys about something, and that is, of course, the new update of Super Mario Maker 2 has been just recently revealed, and they actually add in quite a number of things, actually. Well, only 7 new things they're trying to add in. Specifically, well, some new parts, as well as this special thing, well, I'll mention more on that later, as well as this brand new mode they actually did manage to add in. So in this case, though, we actually got ourselves even more enemies to our disposal to the lineup, such as, well, Spike from ever since in Super Mario Bros. 3, so it's about time to able to actually have Spike as the enemy. Although, the only difference is being this time around is the fact that not only do we get ourselves a traditional Spike enemy as a result, but you can also just manage to shoot out obviously spiked iron balls, but now they can also toss out snowballs this time around in the snow theme levels, which is pretty cool though, even though despite the fact that we have not got the other version of Spike, specifically Snow Spike, which generally it was a thing during the forms of the original new Super Mario Bros. Game after all, so even then though chances are we're most likely gonna have to stuck with the original Spiker after all. So yeah, it's pretty cool though. And also we got ourselves Pokey returning ever since joining also in Super. Well, I would say that the Pokey was first appeared in specifically in Super Mario World. So even then, basically that, it plays pretty much exactly just that. And also, that just like the forms of how it does it in the forms of, the Spike enemy, is the fact that if you manage to able to switch it to, the snow themes on that specific Pokey enemy, you will be replaced by, Snowman Pokey instead, as opposed to the normal traditional Pokey. So even then though, I think that makes it clearly obvious from the forms of Super Mario 3D World game style, because in one of those levels, specifically World 3-1, where basically we actually come across into ourselves the snow version of the actual Poke enemy, which is pretty cool though, especially that if you try to utilize, I would say specifically one of those snowballs in particular or something like that, and then basically we could able to actually just utilize the snowballs. So, well, it's hard for me to explain about this sometimes. And also, if you try to set the actual course element in night mode, something will interesting happens when it comes to Poke as an enemy itself. Because basically, if you manage to set the nighttime theme, it doesn't matter which environments that's going to take place in. So naturally speaking, about the fact that we can able to actually let the Poke manage to fly in midair, or in this case hover for in midair. So that, yeah, that's pretty cool though. And I think it might actually work out in Journey forms of, I would say, well, it's a little bit too early for predictions at this point right now, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. So, and also, in addition to those two new enemies that are now in the actual Super Mario Maker 2, we also got ourselves 3 new elements to the actual course parts. So those are frozen coins, if you're familiar with those specific stuff, ever since Journey forms of Super Mario Bros. 3, where basically you can able to actually place one of those coins, and then basically they all just got frozen up. Journey forms of that specifically the actual ice cube and stuff like that. And just like before, fire is always the only method to able to actually grab some coins with when it comes to like melting these ice cubes whenever they got coins from. So self-explanatory though, especially noticeable if you really want to get yourselves the you know, the fire flower to begin with, so I appreciate about that. And also we got ourselves the P block, which we're most likely familiar with, because basically what that does is that obviously it allows you to able to actually just, well, if you come across into a P switch, well, you simply placed in the actual transparent P block platform, and basically every time you activate it, well, it becomes the actual P block platform. So yeah, that's pretty cool though, especially noticeable if you really have some sort of like a difficult time, or in this case, if you try to make one of the more difficult levels during the multiplayer or just a single player content. I don't know. I haven't been on touch upon Mario Maker 2 for quite a while, so even then, well, I've only, the last time I played Super Mario Maker 2 is the occasional, online multiplayer, despite the actual, the lacking frame rate and all that stuff, and also Journey forms of the completion when it comes to story mode. So, at least I managed able to complete that recently, so, and, also, the third and final thing, and it's only exclusive to the forms of Super Mario 3D World game style, and that as you're most likely familiar with, is the dash blocks, which this allows you to, well, to simply dash forward at the higher speeds than the normally possible when touching this block. So even then though, it plays exactly like how it did in the, you know, normal Super Mario 3D World, but except the fact that I think it actually turns into a block instead of the actual flat surface, because, well, I think it's pretty obvious for this decision, probably because of the limitations of, you know, 3D movements and stuff like that, or in this case for this matter though, the 3D angle. Well, the only time it's usually 3D is, of course, the actual backdrops or something like that, so yeah, that's pretty cool stuff though. And and another new mode they actually added in, specifically only one new mode in particular at the moment right now, that is the Ninja Speedruns, which this allows you to able to take on these courses created by Nintendo, of course, and then compete against other players from the fastest time, and then complete these courses to collect some stamps, and then you would unlock some special Mii costumes and what have you. So pretty swell if you ask me, but I don't know if I'm actually going to be participating in it at some point in tomorrow. But regardless of everything else though, well, I'll point that out whenever I get my first impressions of it, whenever I first touch upon it. So even then, excuse me, and because yeah, basically because of the fact I just need to, well, let Sonic and Sylvester trying to carry on doing, you know, the final 2 parts of their Let's Plays of Mario Kart 8 / Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for that matter though, so we'll let that happen. So, hopefully we can able to, we'll discuss upon the actual, my first impressions of the actual, well, just the new features and all that stuff they're actually going to add during tomorrow. So, yeah, you probably get the idea for that. And let's talk about the final thing, what they're gonna add in with this new update for Super Mario Maker 2. Now, it's pretty legendary, actually, because you see, do you remember the forms of the original Super Mario Maker for the Wii U? That's basically one of those special costumes you can get. It's by the forms of Link from the Legend of Zelda series, and basically, in order to actually unlock one of those special costumes due to the mystery mushroom, is that, well, because basically, you can either just unlock one of those costumes during the forms of a 100 Mario challenge, it doesn't matter what difficulties you're in, or you can just simply manage to scan in your amiibo. Well, usually for Mario Maker 2, that the amiibos is no exception because of due to the forms of I don't know what happened to the amiibos this time around though, especially when at least we got some of them during the forms of other games, like specifically I would say from the likes of The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening recently, for the actual remake of the game. At least that game does have amiibo functionality, and also same applies for you know, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Super Mario Party, and everything else. But as far as everything else in particular, when it comes to the amiibo functionality, it doesn't seem to able to get that much in terms of amiibo variety when it comes to likely in the previous games throughout. Well, apart from, I would classify for saying Yoshi's Crafted World, which could be potentially speaking, but apart from those side of things though, we haven't got that much in terms of Mario games where it comes to like amiibo functionalities. Well, this game in particular is always one of them, and also Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and also Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and also same applies for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and yeah, also because of how the fact that, well, and like I mentioned before, Super Mario Party has the amiibo, and also Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so yeah, you get the idea. So, anywho though, let's talk about the forms of the final thing we'd like to point things out, and that is, well, as I mentioned before, is that you remember one of those mystery costumes that you can get from the original Mario Maker on the Wii U? That is the forms of Link from the Legend of Zelda series. Well, turns out that Super Mario Maker 2 now finally brings back Link, but this time around though, as the actual power-up based off from the Legend of Zelda series. Specifically, well, the original Legend of Zelda or something. So basically what happens is that we get ourselves a Master Sword, which is actually a very cool thing in theory, ever since during the forms of the other Zelda games by this point. However, though, similar to the forms of the original Super Mario Maker game, it can only work on the original Super Mario Bros. Game, sadly. So, unfortunately for Zelda fans out there, that Link was not playable in Super Mario Bros. 3 game style, as well as Super Mario World style, and even New Super Mario Bros. U style, and even most recently, Super Mario 3D World style, which is kind of sad though, but regardless of such, it might act out pretty much exactly similar to not only by the forms of the mystery mushrooms from you know, from the original game, but also during the forms of, well, the actual Super Ball Flower in the forms of Super Mario Land. So, that's my honest theory for that specific point. And, yeah, because what happens is that if you somehow manage to obtain the Master Sword power-up, this allows you to transform into, of course, the Link, of course. And this way, it can actually give you some more movesets as opposed to a simple cosmetic different change of costumes from the original game, from the original Super Mario Maker, because this time we actually got ourselves even more movesets, such as stepping in these enemies with the sword. You can either just manage to, like, step it from the front of them, or you can able to do a downward stab in the air. You know, kind of like how it did in the forms of Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link almost. But, except the fact that it's actually based off from Zelda, the original Zelda game from, you know, for the NES sprites and all that stuff, but except, well, you know, we're actually now going to be able to jump, first of all, which I'm very grateful for, and also, because of how the fact that he can now able to utilize his Master Sword to likely stab some enemies with his sword and all that stuff, and also he can able to block his attacks with his shield, and also shooting these arrows, luckily, and hell, even the forms of laying the bombs here and there as well, so that's pretty cool. And then simply dash forward and all that stuff by almost very similar to the forms of these Pegasus boots from the likes of well, I would say from the forms of The Legend of Zelda A Link to the Past and all that stuff, which is pretty cool though, because even then though, it does bring some of these, quite a few elements from the forms of the previous Zelda games for sure, such as, well, as I mentioned it before, some familiar movesets for those of you who've ever played Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link before, because obviously Zelda 2 does manage to offer us the actual 2D side-scrolling platformer, despite how difficult that game can be, especially towards the end, especially noticeable when we get to, likely, the latest palaces and all that stuff. Although, I'm sure enough though is that we might actually tackle for that game at some point in the future though, but not now though really, because obviously that, 2019 is getting pretty close, so even then I have to mainly focusing on, Super Mario Odyssey as it goes. So even then relatively speaking of such, is the fact that obviously that we'll try to able to actually finish this Let's Play and during at some point, in sometime in December, which I think I've already said this, like, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, so it can be pretty repetitive if I was gonna keep on saying that, right? So even then, let's not get ahead of ourselves. So even then, and I guess that's about it when it comes to the Super Mario Maker 2 update coming up in during tomorrow, and I was really looking forward to that though, just because not only do I need to get back into that game for a certain amount of time, but also during the forms of that specific time, I can now able to finally do some more new things, such as, well, some more parts they actually included, and also just playing as the actual next character. Well, generally speaking, it's like a power-up and anything like that, just like these mystery mushrooms. So, I'm really curious, though, about the fact that with the actual jingle they're actually going to bring back. Like, let's just say, well, every time you fall off the course or something like that, it might actually do the Zelda 1 death sound, which it could be potentially though, but we'll have to wait and see what happens until tomorrow anyway though. So now, I guess that was a part of a new thing they actually did added in with that specific update, which I was really looking forward to it, especially noticeable how the fact that, well, usually I just want some more things during the forms of Super Mario Maker 2. Well, they did manage to offer us some more elements during the forms of the first game, so at least I appreciate that ever since during the forms of, well, let's just say in 2016, despite with, the Wii U's has got himself the actual shortest life ever, compared to the forms of most other game consoles from the past, such as, let's just go back into the forms of, back in the old days, from the forms of how usually game systems managed to able to actually live for how long exactly, such as, well, obviously we already know about the fact that the Wii U is pretty much, been out for about, well, obviously the Wii U has been out for about 7 years right now, at least until recently, during the forms of the UK's release and stuff like that. So, and, despite that, though, is the fact that we already have, like, let's say 5 years of living when it comes to the forms of the Wii U console itself, despite how, poor the sale is, which is kind of like the same thing for how it does it on the PlayStation Vita almost, but except the fact that, well, it does it so well in Japan, though. But however though, when it comes to everything else though, specifically the English version or something like that, it doesn't seem that much impact, or doesn't get that much of an impact compared to the Japanese version of the PlayStation Vita. Well, I haven't really looked upon that much in terms of any other game console sales for that point. Well, up until when it gets to the point is the fact that, the Switch is doing so well so far, especially that every now and then now is the fact that since that Christmas is getting closer to able to actually make a come-by, this means you're able to actually sell even more, especially we'll find out in during the forms of at some point in 2020, if we manage to keep our records count by the forms of the actual good sales for, Nintendo Switch itself. Specifically, not only the original model, but also the improvement battery version of that specific model, but also during the forms of the Switch Lite here and there as well, combined into one. So even then, because, obviously, it's the most unique system of all times, specifically with the original Nintendo Switch. Well, I would classify for Nintendo Switch Lite was a cool idea as well, but however though, it does manage to able to offer us some missing features, such as, well, obviously you can't play the actual Switch Mini, or the Switch Lite rather, on TV mode, and also no HD rumble, no gyroscope controls and all that stuff. Well, unless if you use the, the Joy-Cons in particular. but apart from those side of things though, there's not much else to really say about it here. So unless if you really want to play on the go without even bother using the actual normal Switch to begin with, then well, by all means, power to you, because even then, you can able to actually use your cloud save data until you're able to actually just well, from going from one Nintendo Switch to another. So yeah, you probably get the idea for that. So now I guess that's probably about it when it comes to discussing on things and such, aside from, you know, the new update on Super Mario Maker 2 will be releasing tomorrow, which is not that far from here. Well, it did first announce it back in Journey Forms of on Monday, and I suppose another thing I'd like to talk about is the fact that, well, I would say that Sonic and Sylvester has not even mentioned about this before, about recently that Slim Kirby, he's now going to be doing the third entry of the Pikmin Let's Play after 7 years, or I would classify, yeah, I think it's like 7 years or so, that he did manage to, you know, did done a Pikmin Let's Play before, ever since in Pikmin 2 for the Nintendo GameCube / Nintendo Wii. Well, at least as far as I'm noticing all that stuff. Well, despite the fact that we did done some Pikmin Let's Plays from the past, such as, well, of course, the original game on the Nintendo Wii / Nintendo GameCube back in 2015, all the way up to 2016, due to the forms of how busy we were. And as far as Pikmin 2 goes, we managed to got that Let's Play started during the forms of 2016, which is just on that 1 year. And then until a year later, we actually got ourselves Pikmin 3, just because of the actual celebration release for Hey Pikmin from the Nintendo 3DS. So, but God knows of how the fact that how we can able to do our Let's Play of Hey Pikmin at some point. Although, it really depending on such, just because of that stupid system where basically, for YouTube nowadays, is the fact that there's actually the copper system, which even then it could be potentially be a good idea, or good news, or some bad news in general. But let's not get ahead of ourselves for this point, because, you know, we're just, you know, just playing some fun around with, of course, Luigi's Bloom World, of course. I know this video is kind of long-ish, or something like that, compared to the previous videos of Luigi's Bloom World, but hopefully by that time goes, especially noticeable that since we pretty much at the, we're classified for saying the halfway point when it comes to the forms of, the actual Let's Play of Super Mario Odyssey. Well, not necessarily though, because obviously we've already collected the actual main Power Moons themselves, but of course the next thing we want to do is to able to max out our Moons counter, such as going up to 999 Power Moons themselves, because I think there might be something rewarding if we manage to do so, but even then we'll have to wait and see what happens there if we do this actual process. So, and I suppose at the end though, let's just go ahead and hide it, so, you know, just for fun, really. So even then, though, as you can see, that obviously we're going to be switching back to Waluigi, costume of Mario. So, yeah, we've already seen this before, but I figure I might as well able to show that off again, just for the sake of clarity, for specifically trying to able to, well, God knows, whenever I was trying to do some more videos of Luigi's Bloom World itself or something. So, actually, let me just try it again, because I was going to able to do that strategy, as you can see right there. But if you couldn't tell already for about a few moments ago, is the fact that I keep on screwing it up with that specific technique, because, well, I swear I was going to able to actually just try to able to perform the Cappy long jump for that specific distance there, and try to do a wall jump in the process too. But most of my time though, I just couldn't seem to able to work it properly, but every now and then now, I can just simply manage to make it working again, so that's a full appreciation about that stuff. So anyways, let's activate the Scarecrow, and we'll place the balloon just on here. Sure, it might be a little bit too simple for most of our newcomers out there across the entire world might actually get that balloon, for me at least. So, yeah, there's not much stars we can get though, apart from the fact that we need to find some more and during in our own time, as well as like a few more stars during the forms of hidden mode. And I'm pretty sure enough though is the fact that we pretty much almost done in Fury though. Well, no, I don't think, well, as far as the results of the actual star icons, if you couldn't tell right there, I'm pretty sad to tell you this, is the fact that since we are still doing a Let's Play of this still, I don't think we can able to actually show you guys what happens if you get yourselves 50 of those stars. Well, it might be a little bit cosmetic differences from here, but either way though, so we'll just leave it as it is. But before you're able to actually leave this kingdom, especially noticeable how the fact that we can able to get onto the halfway point of specifically Luigi's Blue World. Because yes, we're not even kidding, we're actually on almost at the halfway point of Luigi's Blue World, and then after such, then we can show off the final thing, which is of course, you know, the virtual reality thing. So even then, well, for Nintendo Labo as it is. So anyway, so just like before, we need to purchase the actual, another 10 set of, Power Moons. I know we haven't got that much in terms of, coins variety though, especially we have not reached to, 9,999 coins yet, but, hopefully when it gets to the point when we get to the Lost Kingdom, especially noticeable with some, shorter kingdoms as a result, we can able to actually at least manage to able to max out our coins count. So hopefully that makes the case for this point. So anywho though, I'm truly sorry about the forms of the commentary for the sake of time, folks, because well, aside from the new exciting thing they actually added in, specifically when it comes to recently, that's as far as I can say when it comes to likely some new discussions to make. So I just want to classify that. So before you're able to end this off, however, though, you know what, I've said this before already, there's actually that one capture enemy I sort of left out during the forms of that specific Let's Play so far. Well, turns out I need to head back into the forms of the Wooded Kingdom again. On this case, this will be the final time we're going to be seeing Wooded Kingdom. I know it's totally not necessary for the sake of this video, but I have to do it anyway, though, just to get this over with and done with. So that way we can able to actually continue the rest of the Luigi's Blue World itself for the actual mini-series as a result of this for the sake of this Let's Play. So even then, we'll head back in here again for the final time, and this time around, I promise you guys, we need to find that final enemy to capture with that I've not shown you guys yet. That is, of course, you remember the forms of those, poison piranha plants we've already come across into whenever we first time, visiting this kingdom? Well, turns out that I totally forgot to show you guys the actual capture for it. Well, luckily for me, there are plentiful of those poison piranha plants. Or in this case, for this matter though, we've already seen these guys before, ever since on the dark side as well. So I thought to myself, I might as well able to actually just go ahead and go for this kingdom because, well, unlike the dark side, where basically, well, you have to do it without Cappy, but in here, we can able to utilize with Cappy. So this is what we're supposed to do. Toss the rock over to the poison piranha plant, and there we go. And basically, it plays exactly like how it did on the fire piranha plant, but except the noticeable difference is that obviously it spews out poison as opposed to fire. So, because you know, the fire one that normally takes place in Luncheon Kingdom, of course, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So at least even then though, as you can tell from the actual listings, we've now got every single capture list. So good thing we did manage to able to actually get that from here though, because aside from all that stuff, well, we are basically done. Well, from few exceptions that needs to be done, such as, well, of course, the Luigi's Blue World thing, especially noticeable with the amount of power moons we can get, and heck, even with the forms of those costumes themselves, so at least we can able to do those. Oh yeah, and also the actual virtual reality thing at the end, so it's got a whole lot of things to do for this point, folks. It's got a whole lot of stuff to do, especially when we get to likely close towards the end of this Let's Play in general. So, of course, you know, Cloud Kingdom will not count for, you know, Luigi's Blue World itself. So I guess I might as well figure this out right now. Then we can able to jump right in to the Lost Kingdom. So even then though, this will be the last time we're going to be exploring this particular kingdom. But until Friday, then this will be up. So yeah, you probably get the idea. So, and I think for the sake of clarity is the fact that we'll change into a different costume. And I figured we might actually change into one of those wedding clothes again, but except this time we'll dress up as in the Bowser's wedding suit on. So even then we can able to show that off. It looks very similar to the likes of the normal Bowser's wedding suit, but except it's a lot smaller due to Mario's size. So yeah, I guess we'll pretty much get things off at this point right there. So join me next time on Let's Play Super Mario Odyssey. When it comes to Luigi's Blue World, it's the fact that we're now going to be dealing with the Lost Kingdom in Luigi's Blue World. So see you guys on Friday. Later, fellas.